Hi everyone, this is Cocorrina and today I will introduce you to runes, their meanings, as well as show you how to write in runes. In this video I will use our very own rune deck, the Cosmic Whisper, to demonstrate each card as well as its meaning. The runes were used as a means of communication, writing, telling fortunes, protection, but also in magic and casting spells. They are almost over 2000 years old. There are 24 runes in the Elder Futhark, or Old Germanic runic alphabet. The first 6 runes of the alphabet spell out the word Futhark. Each rune translates into a word or a phrase signifying concepts important to the early people who used them, representing the forces of nature and mind. Each rune has a story attached to it. Each letter or figure is called a rune and it has a phonetic sound. The first rune, Fehu, translates to wealth. It represents financial strength, prosperity, and abundance. The letter that corresponds to Fehu is F. The second rune, Uruz, translates to wild ox. It represents physical health, endurance, and raw beastly power. The letter that corresponds to Uruz is U. Thurisaz translates to thorn. It represents self-empowerment, constructive conflict, and chaos. Thurisaz corresponds to the letter TH and sounds like Thu. Anzus translates to ancestral god. It represents the voice of the universe, inspiration, and communication. Anzus corresponds to the letter A. Raido translates to the wagon. It represents movement, journey, and adventure. Raido corresponds to the letter R. Kenas translates to torch. It represents heat, illumination, and enlightenment. Kenas corresponds to the letter K. Gebo, the gift, represents love, forgiveness, and the gravity of equals and opposites. Geba corresponds to the letter G. Wunyo, the rune of joy, represents perfection, family, and optimism. Wunyo corresponds to the letter W. Hagalas translates to hail, and it represents disruption, severe weather, and radical change. Hagalas corresponds to the letter H. Know this, the rune of need, represents desire, craving, and compulsion. Know this corresponds to the letter N. Isa, the rune of ice, represents stillness, lack of change, and the rest before action. Isa corresponds to the letter I. Yera, the rune of harvest, represents cycle, peace, and fertility. Yera corresponds to the letter J. Elvas, that translates to the yew tree, represents encoding, magic, and longevity. Elvas corresponds to the letter AE that sounds like A. Perthro, the rune of fate, represents mystery, female energy and fertility, and the unknown. Perthro corresponds to the letter P. Anzus, the Rune of Protection, represents the power within, the higher self, and the opportunity to grow. Anzus corresponds to the letter Z. Sowilo, the Rune of Sun, represents wholeness, success, and motivation. Sowilo corresponds to the letter S. Tiwas, the Rune of the Sky God, represents justice, balance, and personal sacrifice. Tiwas corresponds to the letter T. Berkano, the Rune of the Birch Goddess, represents birth, safety, and the female fertility. Berkano corresponds to the letter B. Elvas translates to 2 horses, and it represents the forward energy, movement, and the rune of pairs. Elvas corresponds to the letter E. Manas, the rune of mankind, represents humanity, awareness, and the rational mind. Manas corresponds to the letter M. Laguz, the rune of water, represents the unconscious mind, emotion, and love. Laguz corresponds to the letter L. Ingus, that translates to the seed, represents the personal development, internal growth, and wholeness. Ingus corresponds to the letters N, G. Dagas, that translates to the day, represents awakening, hope, and realization. Dagas corresponds to the letter D. And our last rune, Othala, translates to homeland. It represents ancestral heritage and wisdom, family, and possessions. Othala corresponds to the letter O. Now that you know the letters that correspond to each rune, you can write absolutely anything. Runes hold such strong energy, and they will amplify it in every word you write, whether it's a wish, an affirmation, or a spell. Instead of trying to correctly match each letter, try writing your words the way they sound. For example, with the word heart, you will see that I skip completely the letter E and write heart the way it sounds. Thank you so much for watching, and I truly hope you enjoyed this video.